Right guys, welcome back to the channel. So first of all, just want to say sorry for the late video this time. Unfortunately the week got away from me, so it's probably going to be about a day late. But yeah, got some stuff done in the Mondeo, so I'm going to show you lowering it down. It's down at the moment, so I've got that already videoed and show you that quickly. Managed to get some new brakes on the back today because those things started scraping. But yeah, things are looking good. So let's get to the shocks. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look through all the parts that are needed. We're going to go through a list, and I'm going to list out basically what I paid for the stuff, what you should expect to pay. Lots of talking basically. So let's get the working done and then we'll get to the talking. Right guys, so just wanted to do a very quick video, show you the differences in these lower control arms that I've now got for the Mondeo. These ones were the aluminium ones from the Volvo, and these are new Mondeo ones that I've gotten from an online seller. So basically, I don't know how well you can see that, chat, but you see the spring perch that's in the top here, but in the Mondeo, it's right down the bottom. So, I mean, there must be 2, maybe 3 inches of difference. So, measure them up, they're all right. Gonna stick these in. It's only about a 20-minute job in the car. And I'm going to get rid of the horrible 4-wheel drive arch gap out the back. So what I'll do, I'll quickly fit these. It's probably going to take me 10-15 minutes, and then I'll have another video and show you how much lower the car is. Alright guys, so took about 20 minutes aside, maybe 15 aside, and then there is the difference. Now it's still got a little bit of an arch gap. I mean, it would definitely pass the shoe test. I'd barely get my shoe in there, but that's a 30mm drop. That's how I was expecting it, and that's how I wanted it. So it's matching the front now, no longer arse in the air. Yeah, I think it's time to take it for a drive this afternoon. Alright guys, welcome back to the office. So got my notes here sitting at the computer, got my little doggy here. Time to discuss some parts. Basically what I'm going to go through, I've got down all my parts list, all the things that are customized. I've got the amount of time that it's going to take, and I've kind of tried to pin it out a few other things which we're going to go through. Let's basically start with the parts list. What I am going to do, down in the description below, I'm going to provide a couple of links that I use to find the right parts. They are Volvo catalogue sites, so you've got to go through all of their catalogue stuff for a specific vehicle. I used I think it was a 2014 XC70 as what I was going for. That's where I found all the parts. Realistically, if you can get a P3 manual Volvo V70 or XC70, that's going to be perfect. It's going to have everything you need. Obviously all-wheel drive, it's going to have the diff, it's going to have everything you need up to the front, and Volvos all use the M66 gearbox, so that will fit on, and you just need to obviously change the ratios depending on your tune. I may have been able to get away with it and updated my map with a different gearing, but that was a kettle of fish I don't want to really mess with. The gearing in the Mondeo is fine, the top end is absolutely fine. So yeah, let's get into it. So basically, first thing we got, parts list. This is what I paid for the parts, and I think I'll discuss when I think you can get them for cheaper. So what I paid for, first of all, was the XC60 rear subframe and trailing arms, and it had the discs attached to it. It had basically everything attached to it. It was the whole thing besides the suspension. The suspension had been taken off. I paid 160 for that. Now, to be honest, with that, you can get away with just the cradle. If you could find just the cradle and the trailing arms from a V70 or an XC60 or a XC70, they all seem the same. And then you could use the Mondeo links to the subframe, because the subframe, the base is actually the same, it's just got the 2 holes. So I paid 160 for that. You could probably get some money off of that if you got just the cradle. I imagine just the cradle probably wouldn't be under 100 quid though, so 160 is not bad because I got all those extra bits. Next bit, the all-wheel drive fuel tank. Now, I have seen better deals for this, for a fuel tank and a pump. I paid 60 quid for mine delivered. Obviously, all this is all delivered. It has to be a XC60, XC70, V70 all-wheel drive petrol tank, and you need the all-wheel drive fuel pump, all-wheel drive fuel pump from an XC60, XC70, V70. They're all from the same Volvo. I've seen the whole thing together for 110 quid. I paid 60 for the fuel tank and I paid 80 for the pump. Separately, it's not a bad price I pay for them, but together you can definitely get it cheaper. I've seen, as I said, I think it was about 110. I think I've got one on my watch list at the moment on eBay. It's 110 for the tank and the pump. Now it must be petrol. You're going to be looking at a T6 petrol, I think it is. I don't think they did any other petrols. Anyway, so the next thing I got was a XC70 front diff. That's the transfer case. Obviously, it goes from the gearbox to the prop, sends the part to the back. I paid 110 for that. I got quite a good deal on that. I've seen them for a lot more expensive. I've seen them for about 300 quid. But shop around, you'll be able to find them. I got the diff I ended up using, I bought separately. But when I bought my gearbox, I actually got a diff attached to it. So I've got a spare one. Unfortunately, the flange is the wrong size. It's the larger flange. That's prop shaft issues. There's probably a way around that. I haven't figured it out. So I would suggest stick to XC70 or V70. Then you're going to have the right size prop, the right size flanges, fronts and back. Next thing was the rear diff that I bought. Now I paid quite a lot for this. Looking at this, I paid 435. Now it was complete with a complete Haldex, complete everything. Was all working. Was really good condition. From a 2014 XC70, I think mine came from. I've seen them cheaper. I have seen them cheaper. I think you can get away with a Ford Cougar diff. I think you could get away with a Land Rover diff. I think there's a few you could get away with. But as I say, if you want to stick to the formula, XC71 works. Then I bought the XC60 gearbox, which is an M66 gearbox, which came with another front diff. I paid $5.15 delivered for that. Now, you can get a gearbox cheaper than that. The only thing you've got to check, you've got to make sure it's from a P3 Volvo, which is newer than, I think, 2010 or 2012, and you've got to make sure the front diff is from a P3 Volvo. The reason being, the spline shaft that goes in between the two is bigger than the P2, so it's bigger than what they use in the S60, let's say. It's bigger than the things that they use in the conversion for the Focuses, so therefore it can handle more power. It's actually designed apparently to handle 1,500 Newton meters of torque, so I would advise going for the newer stuff. Then what I did was I got two rear drive shafts, paid 38 each for those. That was a steal. Next thing I got was the XC60 gearbox mount. You can get away with the Mondeo mount, the 2.2 Mondeo mount. That's probably the better one to go for because I had to extend mine a little bit. I paid 25 for that. Then I had to buy the two shafts separately for the front. XC70 driver's side shaft. That was £88.40 delivered. And then the passenger side shaft was $70.56 delivered. Now the passenger side shaft was from Lithuania, I think, somewhere in Eastern Europe, but it was brand new, so I was happy with that. Then last of all, well, not last of all, I should say, there's still a few more things. The last big thing really was the XC70 prop shaft. I paid 160 for that. Now that was the best I could find one on eBay. They seem to go for 260 quid, so I think I got a good deal for that. Next up is a couple of things that I actually don't have the price for. Was the Volvo evaporation hose from the fuel tank. So now you need that because the Volvo tanks are sealed. The breather hole is in the pump itself. So you need the evap hose that goes onto the pump, and it just clips straight up to the Mondeo fuel, what is that thing called? The evaporation canister. Just plug straight in, so that's good to go. I think there was one, it's got three hoses off, so there's one I just chopped off and blanked off. Next bit was the fuel tank straps, so that hold the fuel tank up. Can't remember how much I paid for those. I think they were about 30 quid each. Got them brand new from Volvo. I have got the part numbers for these things down, so I'll put all that up. Last bit I bought was the fuel tank heat shield. Now this, I would definitely recommend. It's a big old, probably about a mil thick piece of sheet steel that goes up and around the prop shaft, and then obviously protects the fuel tank from where the exhaust goes through, so it keeps a lot of the heat down. I would definitely advise getting that. So grand total of all that, plus minus, you're looking at 1,779.96. Obviously that's without those things, so you call it 1,800. That's all the parts, all delivered. As I say, you can save some parts, some change off of that, so you could possibly even get it down to about 1,500. I was aiming to keep it under 2 grand, so spot on with that. Right, let's move on to the parts I had to custom fabricate. Now, what I've done down here, obviously there's no cost really related to this. I've put down the amount of time it took me to do my build. So I did have a custom 3-inch exhaust already. Just bought some custom, some 3-inch piping, made it with the bends that were already in it. Now, it worked out quite well. I don't know if you'll be able to do that with all exhausts. We'll have to see that. But that was the first bit I've got down as the modified. I said it took about 6 to 7 hours, purely because I had to do about 30 centimeters at a time and a bend, and then 30 centimeters. But yeah, so that's it. That on a driveway is a good estimate, I would say, 6 to 7 hours. Next thing we did was shorten the prop brackets. So that was where the prop shaft sits in the tunnel. They sat too high from the Volvo. Obviously the Volvo tunnel is probably deeper. That we had to chop them, bring them down, splay them out, flatten it out, give it a bit of panel beating. Took about 2 hours, I would have said, for the 2 brackets. The next bit was the Mondeo gear set into the M66 Volvo box. I said that took about 2 hours. Now, there was a lot of cleaning in that. It was obviously my first one. You could probably get the time down on that, but I would say 2 hours is good to get it right, sealed up, all back together, and clean, obviously. And the last bit was the fuel filler neck. Now, unfortunately, doesn't look like any of the Volvo ones even come anywhere close. The bends are just completely wrong. So that took about an hour. Bear in mind, I did buy piping and I did buy 90-degree bends, so there is a cost associated to that. That was about 50 quid, let's call it, because I got some nice alloy bends. Well, it was all I could get at 30 mil. It is 30 mil and it runs to 40 mil in the tank. So there's a step down there. So that total time for those 4 things, I said about 12 hours. Right. The next thing was the fitting times. Now this might be what you're interested in if you're going to plan on doing this yourself. Now, bear in mind, take these times as a plus or minus. Some of them took a bit longer, some of them took a bit shorter. I have put down what I estimate to be a good time to do these things with a bit of knowledge. So the first thing we would do would be remove rear subframe, tank and exhaust. That's about 4 hours. Then you want to remove the front subframe. That's an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then you want to remove the drive shafts and the gearbox. That's going to take you 2 hours. Last thing is going to be, that was the last thing, pulling things off. The next thing in is going to be fitting the Volvo gearbox and drive shafts back in. Said 2 hours, purely because all went quite well with mine. Next thing would be building the rear subframe. Now, obviously, you're going to have to build it outside of the car and then put it in. So that takes about an hour. I've also put in there cleaning parts, because you're going to want to clean those parts at least. Fitting the rear subframe, 2 hours, obviously once it's built. Fitting the prop, drilling holes and riveting it in, I said took an hour. Then refit and wrap the exhaust, I said took about an hour and a half. Now, none of those times include painting anything. They don't really include too much in-depth cleaning of anything. I did take a lot longer for those because I cleaned literally everything. I painted every part that came off the car. I would say do the same. I would advise, if I was building it myself, I would advise you to do the same thing. But if you want to save on some costs, you don't really have to. So I said that would take about 16 hours. So you're looking together 28 hours worth of labour, 28 good solid hours. That's no messing about, no tea breaks, get in there and work. It'll take, so it looks like possibly 3 days. 3 days you could possibly knock this out, and I reckon. Three days of, good planning, getting it all together previously, and then if you work for 8 hours a day, well, obviously more than 8 hours a day, but if you work for 10 hours a day, that's 30 hours over 3 days, you're going to get it done. Obviously, weather permitting and stuff. As I said, again, it doesn't include any drying times for paint or anything, so do factor that in if you're going to do it. Now, next thing I want to move on to, a lot of people have been asking me whether I would consider doing this as a service. Drop off your car, I do it, you pick it up in X amount of time. Now, there are a lot of unknowns. Now, obviously, basically, my build was a 2.5 turbo XR5 with a custom exhaust. Nothing else really different that got in the way of any of this. This is possible on basically all Mondeos, all, what is it, the EU CD platform. So you're looking at all those Volvos that are involved in it, Freelander 2s and the Mondeos. We can get, and the Galaxy as well, S-Max. We can do this all in them. And I think what I've got down here is very much ballpark of what you're looking at. Obviously, lots of variables within it, but we'll discuss that. So what I've got down here said, judging to do it, if you provide your own parts, you're looking at about £1,600. Obviously, that is with cleaning parts and doing a minimal sort of clean, just what I would consider bare minimum, painting a few parts, not really going the whole hog and cleaning everything, and sorry, not really going the whole hog and painting everything. That's very much a bare bones, I would say. So you're looking at about $1,600, and turnaround time, I would say, because of unknowns, 1 to 2 weeks. Right, that is providing your own parts. The other option is to do it without providing parts. That would leave everything on me, obviously, finding parts, spending time, because it takes hours with these bloody eBay sellers, and some Eastern Europeans who can't really speak English right, and it was a ball ache. It took forever. But without parts, you're looking at same price, £1,600, plus whatever the parts are, plus a 10 to 15% finder's fee. We can discuss this, see how easy it is. If you help out finding the parts and just get them delivered to me, we'll work it out. Obviously, I'm flexible. Same amount of time. Now, as I discovered with this, not all ABS systems will work with the Haldex. You may be lucky. There are, in America, a lot of the guys in the C30 world, so that little Volvo convertible, they convert, little Volvo hatchback, they convert those to all-wheel drive. Now, some of the early ones, they don't play with the ABS. Some of the later ones, they do. So this is a little bit of an unknown, but if you need a Haldex controller, you're looking at 200 minimum. I'm going to move on to that now, because that is going to be something I'm going to offer. Move on to that in a minute. But you're looking at 200 minimum, depending, that's fully customizable. We can obviously talk about any prices on top of that. Now, there are some variables. Firstly, the main one I can see is the current exhaust. That you're not going to see until you get under the car. If it's a standard one, I've never actually looked at the standard one. See if they can be made to fit. Now, it needs to clear the transfer case. It needs to come along the prop shaft, and then it needs to go through where the fuel tank now goes with the prop shaft, and then around the diff up through the back. So you could possibly get away with the rear section being okay. The front section will need modifying. The down part will need modifying. Please just bear in mind, my build was 2.5 turbo specific, so there are a lot of variables with other motors, but by all means, I'm 100% sure it's possible. There are gearboxes you can find that are all-wheel drive that'll fit the 2 litre and 2.2 diesel. Possibly you'll be able to do something with a 2 litre petrol. I don't know about the power shift stuff. You'd have to get rid of that, and then comes the mapping side. That's all in your hands. Basically, unfortunately, I can't do the mapping, but as mine proved, it's not really going to affect any of that because it's a fully independent system with a switch, and it just basically frees up your ABS. It has nothing else on the CAN bus. Now, the Haldex controller, the manual override thing that I've created. Now, I have decided I'm going to offer this for sale. there are a few caveats. So the minimum bill is going to be £200. Now that's with you providing the solenoid. The reason why I need the solenoid is to get it set into the casing, and I need to test it just to make sure everything's okay, just to make sure it moves to the right place on the various settings. So I'll need to have it in my hands for a day or two while I get it all together and then post it back out to you. Without the solenoid, I think it's going to be quite expensive. Solenoid and the temperature pressure sensor, by the way. So basically, they'll just send off the whole Haldex unit. I'm not sure how much they cost to buy separately. We'd have to talk about that. So get in contact if you need anything about that. Drop me a comment. I'm always lurking about in the comments. So yeah. On top of that would obviously be postage. You'd have to pay for postage. Now, there are various options. This thing is fully customizable. Being so simple, you can do whatever you want. I've got it currently set to 3 settings. 0 being off, which is 2-wheel drive. Setting 1, which is the lower side lock. I'm imagining it's going to be a 70-30 split. And then the other switch is a full lock. So that's 50-50 split. Now, there are varying variations. You can have up to 5 modes, so front wheel drive, and then all the way up to 50% lock in variations, probably like 10% each time. Can have whatever color switches you want, lights, can be controlled by boost. Now, that would obviously move up costs, but as I say, talk to me, drop me a line, pop me an email on the email address that I'll leave below, and we'll get in touch. So yeah, I think that's about it for now. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea exactly what it entails, what you're going to be looking at. I hope to see some more of these all-wheel drive Mondeos on the road. I am happy to do them myself, as I said. So if you've got me on the socials, drop me a line. Yeah, other than that, I must say I've been enjoying this build a lot. I've learned a lot, and the Mondeo is awesome at the moment. It's a bit too hot to really test it out at the moment, being kind of a good summer that we're having at the moment. So once it cools down a bit, I'm going to take it out for those 0-60 runs. I am in the process of getting the map, having the limiters in first and second removed, so that's going to completely obliterate the 0-60, because I'm getting half boost in first, about 3/4 in second. Now with this all-wheel drive, there's no spin, no need for any boost limiters. So let's let it rip, basically. Waiting for those guys to get back to me. Other than that, the last things to do on the Mondeo is to put the front covers back on underneath, and then it's completely finished. But as people always say, project cars are never finished. So I'm already looking on the next things. I'm going to try to keep the content going. Try video some shows that we go to, some meets that we go to, put up a couple of things like that. Maybe show some other people's cars. Who knows? We'll check it out. I'm going to have to start branching out a bit now that the Mondeo is done. But thanks for bearing with me again. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. There are more videos to come, so don't unsubscribe or leave us alone. Keep your eyes peeled, and yeah. So I guess that's it for now, and see you in the next video. Hope you're all safe. Hope you're all looking after yourself. Take it easy.